This episode contains discussions of depression and suicide. Listen at your own discretion. It is Wednesday, the 4th of December, 2024. My name is Pigeon Rose, and this is my song of the day. A while ago now, I talked about the song All the Lonely Nights in Your Life by American Pleasure Club. And in that episode, I mentioned that American Pleasure Club used to be known as Teen Suicide and are now called Teen Suicide again. It's a whole thing. Today, I'm finally talking about a song by Teen Suicide that they released as Teen Suicide. In fact, it's from one of their very first projects, a EP, I guess, mixtape called Waste Yourself, YRSELF, yeah, from 2012. I used to be obsessed with this mixtape, album, EP, whatever you want to call it. It's since been re-released in several forms, usually mashed up with DC Snuff Film, or there's also like a rarities collection that has it in it as well. And I used to be obsessed with it, and I still love it, but I listened to it a lot when I was like really depressed in Galway. And so I'll always kind of associate it with that. But this song in particular was always my favorite. I'm talking today about We Found Two Dead Swans and Filled Their Bodies with Flowers, which is a hell of a title. When I was listening to it back in the day, the version on the album was with the full band. It had like big drumming and fuzzy guitars. But it's hard to find that version now. Like, you can find it on YouTube, but that version is not on Spotify or Bandcamp or on any of the like physical copies you can buy anymore. I actually have the DC Snuff Film Waste Yourself vinyl, and the version on all of the new versions of this album is the acoustic version. And I also really like the acoustic version. I'm not saying it's a bad version or anything, but I love the original full band version. And I think they changed it because the drummer left the band or something. But it is kind of weird that it's hard to find online. So I myself will personally be listening to and talking about the full band version. I'll link it down below. But I will also link, of course, the acoustic version, which you should listen to, and it's available on so many other services. Anyway, the song itself is not particularly wintry in like lyrics. It just has a winter vibe to me. The whole album does. It just feels very cold. I mean, I do associate it with depression in Galway, so I guess it makes sense that I would associate it with the cold. But anyway, let's listen to it now and then come back in a few minutes and talk about it. And there it is. We found two dead swans and filled their bodies with flowers. I should say, by the way, that another reason I associate this song with winter is because I, at one point, as a songwriting exercise, you might write something to the tune of another song and then kind of develop your own tune for it as sort of inspiration for the work. And I wrote a song to the tune of this one that ended with the line, "When the winter came, we got lost in the snow." So that is partially why I associate the song with winter, is because of my own goddamn writing. But anyway, so the song, pretty frankly, is about death and fear of dying, which is probably not shocking from a band called Teen Suicide, but here we are. It also has very few lyrics. I don't think this episode is going to be very long. This might end up being the shortest one ever, but we'll see. Anyway, the difference between the full band and the acoustic version is obviously that one of them has a full band and one of them is acoustic, but the vocals are also delivered quite differently, because the acoustic, it just sounds like Sam with a microphone and a guitar just kind of going like, "I don't want to go to sleep." It almost doesn't sound like he's even performing. It sounds like he's just kind of singing it to himself, Whereas the full band version sounds a lot more like their other stuff. "I don't wanna go to sleep." Like very lo-fi, shoegazy sort of sound, But the real difference is at the end, when it does when it really ends, they'll fill my body with flames. And I like both versions for different reasons, because the acoustic version is the kind of body with flames, whereas the full band version is, "to fill my body with flames." Like, he really screams it out. I love all the different differences in the two versions, and I love both versions for different reasons, but the full band version will always have my heart for the impact of it, Anyway, let's go through the lyrics. "I don't want to go to sleep, and I don't want to dream, on a table or on the floor, in a car outside at night in the snow." So very simply, I don't want to go to sleep and I don't want to dream sounds like, maybe he's having recurring nightmares and he doesn't want to fall asleep because he doesn't like what it's like when he's sleeping, which usually would be the opposite when you're talking about depression. Someone's like, "I only want to sleep, I don't want to be awake," But he's saying that I don't want to dream, like I don't want to have these nightmares. But also, I mean, you can think of it as being like going to sleep as dying, right? I don't want to go to sleep, as in I don't want to go to the eternal sleep, right? But I feel like the "I don't want to dream" lyric kind of defies that. It also makes me think of like if someone overdosed and they're being prevented from sleeping. I don't know. Anyway, on a table or on the floor, in a car outside at night in the snow. So he's just talking about all these places that one could fall asleep that are not a bed and show kind of a bad situation, I think. Falling asleep on the table or on the floor, just like falling asleep around the house, showing kind of dysregulation in sleep, right? And then in a car outside at night in the snow makes me think of someone who is homeless and living out of their car, especially in the snow. It would be very bad. Oh, hey, it does mention snow in this song. Well, there you go. There's your winter vibe. And then the second verse, waking up in someone else's bed, something tells me I'm losing my head. I don't want to leave, just dye my hair and sleep. There is someone on Genius, as so often happens, who really wants to make every single line of this about a specific thing. And they interpreted waking up in someone else's bed as being about waking up in a coffin. No. No, that is not what this lyric is about. It makes me think that it's about couch surfing, crashing on someone's couch, or having one night stands, because it's waking up in someone else's bed. It's not like your friend's bed or whatever. It's someone else's bed, just like being in an unfamiliar situation, Something tells me I'm losing my head. He's losing his mind. He feels like he's going insane. And that's the mental illness catching up to him. I don't want to leave, just dye my hair and sleep. I don't want to leave sounds like he's saying I don't want to die, right? Just dye my hair and sleep. Now, dyeing your hair is a tried and tested sign that someone is having a breakdown. It's just kind of a stereotype and a joke at this point that someone has a breakdown, so they dye their hair. And so I don't want to leave, just dye my hair and sleep. Very fitting, I think. And then the world is ending in my dreams every week for the last few years, and when it really ends, they'll fill my body with flames. You and I will be a household name. So, like I said about how he might be having recurring nightmares, he says here, the world is ending in my dreams every week for the last few years. So he's having recurring nightmares about the end of the world. Of course he doesn't want to go to sleep. Of course he doesn't want to dream. He keeps seeing the end of the world. He keeps seeing death and destruction. And then when it really ends, they'll fill my body with flames. I've always assumed that was about cremation. Someone on Genius did suggest it's about going to hell, which is also an interesting interpretation of it. And then the final line, you and I will be a household name, I assume is about, being remembered after death. You and I will be a household name, like people will remember us. It makes me think of it gives it more of a sinister bent, honestly, because you and I will be a household name really sounds like he's saying oh, people will remember us after this. Like he's talking about a double suicide or like committing some sort of crime, like blowing themselves up or something. I don't know if that's relevant at all, but it's what it makes me think of, unfortunately. Anyway, that's pretty much everything that has to be said about that song. It's a great song. It's wintry to me, and it's very sad. I really do need to talk about other teen suicide songs on here, but this is definitely one of my favorites and has been for a long time. That's pretty much going to be it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Please hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell other people about this show. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Break it down.